there. We're now having issues in the Orthodox Jewish community in New York, where because of their religious practices, et cetera, we're seeing a spread. But we see it, we know it, we understand it because we're doing more testing than anyone else, and then you have to attack them. But
you have to attack them. He's talking about Orthodox Jews. You have to attack them. Let's give the man the benefit of the doubt and assume he meant attack the virus, even though he said them, because in fact he has been attacking them. There was a proposed Jewish wedding that would have had a large attendance. The governor himself took steps to ban this wedding. You can't have 10,000 guests. That sounds like an enormous wedding, but 10,000 people taking the streets for a Breonna Taylor Black Lives Matter march. Well, that won't be banned. It'll be given a police escort. They'll shut down the street for it. Maybe that wedding just has to rebrand itself more in line with the governor's own politics. Joining us now to talk about Governor Cuomo's bizarre obsession with not just the Jews, but the Orthodox Jewish community is a former 36-year assemblyman in the state of New York. That's the statewide elected office. Dov Hikind, who is now the leader of the Association of Americans Against Anti-Semitism. He joins us now via Skype from New York City. Assemblyman Hikind, welcome to the program. Thank you for your time today.
Delighted to be with you. Pleasure.
I find this very bizarre. I think it was Rudy Giuliani who once said that to run for mayor of New York, you needed to have a foreign policy on the three I's: Ireland, Italy, and Israel. As in, those are your three big constituent groups. You got to be good to the Irish, good to the Italians, and good to the Jews. You know, here we have Governor Cuomo, who is picking on the Jews. It's wrong morally. It's bizarre politically. Help us figure out what's going on.
Well, I wish I could figure it all out, but the governor is literally obsessed with the Jewish, Orthodox, Hasidic, depending on the time of day, the terminology that he uses, an obsession with the Orthodox community, with language that is unheard of anywhere. Look, there are outbreaks all over this country right now, all over the world, in fact. I cannot think of a single case where any religious group, where anyone has been identified, any group identified, oh, it's the Italians, it's the Irish, it's the Catholics, it's the Muslims, it's the Protestants. Nowhere in the world has this happened except in New York. And it has actually caused an outbreak of hate. There have been a number of assaults. There have been other numerous stories that have come to me from people, Jews have the virus. I mean, that's what Cuomo says. That's the impression day after day. He gets on television and talks about this. And it is causing irreparable damage. No one is arguing that people should do the right thing. People should wear masks. People should distance themselves. I don't have any problem with that. But the governor is sort of obsessed with the Orthodox Hasidic community, that we're not doing the right thing. It's literally out of control. And we're very, very concerned about it. In terms of why the governor's doing this, I don't know. I know he has a book out that deals with him being the greatest leader ever in the history of the world. He, Cuomo, great leader. In spite of the fact that during Corona back in March, April, thousands and thousands of people died directly because of the policies of Governor Cuomo when Corona patients, I mean, this is the most idiotic thing in the world. Corona patients were sent to nursing homes.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a scientist, a doctor, or anything else. You just got to have common sense. But you don't do that. You just don't do that. Cuomo did it, but he's a great leader. It is really shameful what is happening right now with this governor. Again, every day it's something else. It's about Jewish power, using, people like David Duke with proud of the governor talking this way. Jewish power, Jewish control, Jews don't listen. He told the Catholic Church, I mean, this was last Friday on CNN. He told the Catholic Church, he said, you guys are not responsible, but you're paying the price because you live in an Orthodox area. This is what he told the Catholic Church.
Oh my God.
That is a great way to deal with anti-Semitism that has, we've had unprecedented numbers in New York over the past 15 months.
Yeah.
By the way, the governor was never so outspoken about anti-Semitism and where it was coming from as he is outspoken now, pointing directly at one single community.
Yeah. You know, before the pandemic hit, there was this terrible phenomenon, especially in New York City and nearby, of the knockout game, where young thugs would run up behind someone and hit them on the head and literally knock them out. The victims were predominantly Jews, Orthodox Jews, I think, because they were regarded as soft targets, easy targets. That was bubbling along beneath the surface. I think even the New York Times was a little shy about talking about who the perpetrators were, who the victims were. But now that the governor himself has normalized picking on the Jews, I think that for really 80 years in America, anti-Semitism was out of fashion. It was uncool because polite society wouldn't accept it. But now you see if the governor of the great state of New York is willing to demonize and scapegoat the Jews by name so blatantly, well, why can't anyone else? And you see graffiti in New York, the most Jewish city in the world outside of Israel. You see graffiti. Take a look at this clip. I saw this on Twitter. Someone just driving by, seeing an Orthodox Jew, rolls down the window and just hurls abuse at him because I think they felt licensed to by the governor. Take a look at this.
Put your mask on! Put your mask on! There's COVID cases! Hurry up! Put it on! Put it on!
Now, that wasn't a crime, but it's just the casual blaming and scapegoating. And then you see 180 degrees opposite when it's a pro-Democrat event like a Black Lives Matter rally. I find this greatly troubling. If it can happen in New York, it'll happen anywhere.
Listen, the hypocrisy and the double standard is sickening, nauseating. As you point out, you have marches going on, you have protests. You have riots. I don't think any of the rioters were wearing masks or social distancing when they were breaking into stores and destroying stores here in New York. It's just ridiculous. And you pointed out something very important. I remember the daily attacks upon Jews in New York, and we know who the perpetrators were. We saw them on video. Thank God, we have video. Almost in every single case, the perpetrators happened to be Black. And I remember discussing this with de Blasio during that time, saying, this is out of control. Look who the perpetrators are. Would anyone blame the Black community for all the perpetrators who happened to be Black, who were beating up on Jews, who were attacking Jews, creating fear in this city like I never saw before? And then we had Jersey City, where Jews were murdered. And then we had Muncie, where Jews were stabbed and one person actually died. I mean, did the governor talk about the Black community at that time? Did the mayor talk about the Black community must do something because of this outbreak of anti-Semitism and hate by young people, countless young people attacking Jews for no reason? Yeah. No, that was never mentioned, God forbid.
I remember when the New York Times covered that story, they were very sheepish about it. They wanted to do a story about the alt-right and neo-Nazis, and they had to acknowledge, even the New York Times, that all the perpetrators were young Black men. But you point out very wisely, you didn't see the mayor saying we have a Black problem. It was certain individuals who happened to be Black, but he has no problem talking about this Jewish problem. Here's the craziest thing, and I don't want to take too much of your time, Assemblyman, but it's very interesting to talk with you. I was stunned when I learned this. The governor is engaging in group, collective punishment. He is threatening Jewish schools and other social services with defunding, a mass punishment. I've never heard of such a thing. If they don't do what he says, if they have a wedding, if they have a gathering, he has said he will defund, as if Jewish children don't need schools or hospitals or welfare. He's actually holding that hostage. Here's the executive order on the screen right now. I didn't even think, I couldn't believe this was real. I couldn't believe this was real. Is there a legal response? Is there a constitutional response? Is there a strong political response? Or, like the knockout game perpetrators, does Cuomo know that the Jews are a soft target?
Well, unfortunately, not enough people have, done the right thing, and that is to speak out. I mean, for instance, where's the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League? Anything that comes out of Washington from the Trump administration, they are ready to criticize. They are ready to react to anything the president or any of his people say that they believe crosses the line. Not a sound from the ADL. Is that amazing?
Yeah.
Why? Nobody's asking questions. Why is the ADL being silent when the Jewish community is being targeted by the governor of the state of New York? You pointed out the defunding. On another day, he talked about Jewish power. On another day, he talked about other things. Jews, Jews, Jews. I think he dreams Jews, he lives Jews. But the problem is, he is causing a wave of hate against the Jewish people. People are being physically assaulted. We have many cases just in the last 2 weeks, Orthodox Jews being attacked. Orthodox Jews being referred to as the carriers of the virus and people sort of staying away. I mean, it reminds me of horrible things of the past. And this governor, is perpetrating this. He is doing this. And most of the establishment Jewish organizations led by the ADL, they're silent. It's almost like the attitude, oh, he's talking about those Jews. He's not talking about us, right? Reminds me of something else in history. Yeah. At the early period of Nazism, not talking about us. He's talking about those Jews with the beards and the way they dress and so on. It's not a good situation. It is a dangerous situation. And, we keep on speaking up, standing up. By the way, people are afraid of this guy. Cuomo is known as being vindictive. People are really intimidated. My message to people is, if you're going to be intimidated, only be intimidated from God, not from King Cuomo. I call him King Cuomo, who sits on a throne someplace in New York, I'm not sure where, and lectures and destroys people's lives. Store owners who followed all the rules. You got to wear a mask in my store, you got to social distance, and he's closed down everything. He's destroying people's lives. For what? Yeah. For what?
Well, I think you alluded to it earlier. He's the one who shipped coronavirus patients into the nursing homes. Perhaps he's looking for misdirection. He's looking for a scapegoat that he can blame to make a big fuss to cover for the fact that his decisions were so deadly. I find this so depressing. Fiorello LaGuardia, the great New York mayor after whom the airport is named, was Jewish and Italian. And to me, the harmony of Jews and Italians in that wonderful state, and the Irish is just such the loving harmony. And to see Cuomo pick it apart and pull it apart like this, and I'm not casting aspersions on his Italianness. I'm just saying it's heartbreaking to see in a city that has so much harmony and friendship, to see him pick apart like this, to pick at a scab. I find it terribly depressing, but I'm so glad, Dov, or Assemblyman Hikind, I feel like I know you, so I'm calling you by your first name. I'm so glad you're on the file, and I want to encourage people to check out your website. The URL's on the screen. It's called Americans Against Anti-Semitism. You fight very hard, and I enjoy following you on Twitter because you never let something pass without comment, and I'm glad you spent some time with us today. Thanks very much, and keep up the fight, please.
I'm happy to be on your team and you on my team together.
All right, well, that's a deal. We'll talk to you again. Unfortunately, I don't think we've heard the last of this story. Take care, my friend.
Thank you so much.
All right, there we have it. Assemblyman Dov Hikind, who for 36 years was an assemblyman in the New York legislature, now runs Americans Against Anti-Semitism. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.